Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to our book chat where we're talking about Miguel Ruiz's Four Agreements. I read the book every other day and provide my insights and give you guys some insights on how this might relate to executive functions. If you like what we talk about, please like and subscribe. Comment down below if you have any questions. If you don't like what we talk about, still like and subscribe, please. And comment below about what you don't like about it. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So today was definitely an interesting read. Don Miguel dives into the concepts that we're all living in hell, where the preconceived expectations set by our book of laws is this rule of what is good enough and is not good enough. And it's preconditioned to us from birth, from those around us, from society, and it's kind of like our own personalized hell. Now, yesterday I reflected on how every mistake that I've ever made in my life, I always have so much stress and so much anxiety where it's beyond what stress and anxiety should really be for a single mistake. It's like every mistake I make is amplified, not just by myself and not just me punishing myself, but those around me remember the mistakes I make and their tones change whenever I'm about to make a similar mistake. And then that sparks a memory of me that I remember this mistake, and then all the emotional poison of that mistake opens up and it becomes another cycle of anxiety that, Don Miguel Ruiz likes to talk about as our own personalized hell. One of the quotes that really stuck to me during this reading is this: humans resist life. To be alive is the biggest fear humans have. Our biggest fear is taking the risk to be alive. The risk to be alive and express who we really are. Now, this struck to me because obviously I can relate to it. A lot of the times I have a lot of big decisions I have to make, either personally or for business or for whatever it is, that I don't know if it's the right decision. And I, over and over and over in my head, I think about all the mistakes I've ever made. And I try to make a good decision that, quote unquote, is good enough to the book of agreements that I've made with myself. But a lot of the times I sometimes get paralyzed in this cycle of figuring out whether or not it's good enough. But again, this also really strikes really home with me when it comes to my work with my clients as an executive functions coach. So my clients struggle a lot of times with their capacity, like their actual ability to satisfy the expectations set by themselves and by the surroundings, their society, their parents, their spouse, their coworkers, their boss. They have a very hard time satisfying that because the world sometimes is not built for how their brain functions. And when the world is not built for how their brain functions, there's these expectations of goals that they want to reach that in a timeline that society has deemed as possible for them to reach in that timeline. But in reality, it's not realistic for them to reach it. So they end up getting stuck in this cycle of constantly not reaching their goals. And 100% of the time, the way my clients need to structure their lives is not what they view through their book of laws as correct. And there's this conflict of, whether or not their ability to reach their expectations based off of their book of laws is actually something that is manageable. They're taught by those that they love that there's these pre-existing agreements or memories from those that they love that if they don't meet these expectations that, they're abnormal or they're incapable. And they end up feeling really dumb and stupid. And they feel like, why do I have to make these compromises in life? Why can't I just be normal? They enter their own personalized hell where victimizing, self-sabotaging, and constant frustration between the judge being super judgmental to them, the victim, the internal victim, is kind of just normal. But in reality, it is truly okay for them to structure their lives in the way that works for them to truly live without the fear that their expectations or the preconceived expectations set by society is not the expectation that's going to work for them. We all have little structural quirks in our lives that don't match with what is normal. However, there's such a fear associated with this idea that we might live in a world that is not built for how our brain functions. And my clients' existing structures just doesn't work for them. And so many of my clients find it hard to do the bare basics of life because this fear to just live their lives the way they need to is so prevalent. And it's so hard for them to understand that it is really okay to set 100 alarms to remind them to brush their teeth or to get changed because they might space out. And doing this process over and over again for every single activity that they have problems initiating is really, really okay. And admitting this and taking the time to re-break those agreements or break those agreements and form new agreements and new structures is a huge part of my work as an EF coach. So for sure, I think this book is definitely relatable to myself and for my clients that I work with when it comes to executive functions. I think this idea of how we have these expectations or these responsibilities that we have to live by that is preconditioned by society that causes us so much stress and so much anxiety makes so much more sense, that we're so much caught up in this fear that we forget that if we forget all this and just live the way that we think we need to live our lives, we can actually be happy, be successful, and actually be productive if we allow ourselves to make the agreements that we need to make, not what our parents or what society has asked us to make. I hope you found that interesting. I know I kind of ranted the whole entire time. I apologize. If you like what we talked about or liked what I talked about, please like and subscribe. And we will see you tomorrow probably. Talk soon. Bye.